Alright friends, where were we? Let's continue from where we left off. We've finished variables and operators. Now, we're going to talk about loops. First, it's important to understand the logic behind it and grasp the concept correctly. Now, let me quickly add another module here for loops. Alright, our page is open. Now here, we start by clicking Runner. Now let's open up our workspace here. What we're going to talk about is the concept of loops, friends. Let's try to understand the concept of loops here logically. First of all, in any programming language, the flow goes from top to bottom. In other words, wherever the code is, wherever it's being executed or run, there is a flow, and it continues in this manner. Of course, there can be jumps or skips to different points. Changing direction is possible. And one of these ways to change direction is using loops, friends. So, think of it like this. You're moving along a road. As you go along the road can branch off. You might have to choose one, or you're continuing on the road, but there's a situation, let's say, for example, to pass through, you need to have 16 gold coins. But you only have 2 gold coins. What do? You go back and collect more gold. You know how in games, you keep collecting gold. You check, do you have 16 gold coins yet? You do. You go, I have 16 gold coins. Can I pass? It says, go ahead, and you continue. It might sound a bit absurd to make this comparison, but I'm saying it so it sticks in your mind. So, the basic logic is usually like this. In code, there's a flow to it. The code runs from top to bottom as you read it. But sometimes, we can set rules so that moving down from here is only allowed under certain conditions. Or we might say, now, you're going to continue from here, but maybe, go back over there, go back and come here again. Let's see, like, I didn't really like the way you came here. Let's try it one more time. They come back and try again. Now, try again, and they try again. Then they come again. And then again. And then again. So, we can make them repeat something a certain number of times like this. We can set a rule. In other words, we can make a certain block of code run repeatedly. So, what is this good for? Teacher, what will it be used for? Of course, without doing examples here, it's hard to picture it in our minds, but let's start with the simplest examples. Then we'll do examples about these anyway. Now, think of it like this. Let's print your name on the screen. Okay, I say us out and write Muhammet Hoka here. When I run it, it prints my name once. I see my name once. But now I'm saying, what if I want to print my name 5 times? There you go, I printed it 5 times. How nice. So, is there a problem? No, it printed it 5 times. But what if you want to print it 500,000 times, or 50,000 times? Or maybe 1,000 times? Are we going to write 1,000 lines of code? Are we just going to copy and paste the same thing? You could copy and paste. After a certain point, your finger will fall off. And that's while you're copy-pasting. So, you probably can't make it to 100,000. So, how are we going to solve this then? Teacher, does this kind of thing happen? Do we ever end up printing the same thing, writing the same code over and over again? The logic, don't think of it that way. Think of it like this. In an application, there could be hundreds of thousands of people, right? You might need to analyze that data. You might need to go through that data one by one like this. In situations like these, loops are really useful for us because we can go through them one by one and automate the process. So, how are we going to do this? I mean, we'll talk about these kinds of things one by one anyway. But first, let's talk about how I can make this step print multiple times. Now look, as I said, the code continues from top to bottom like this and then finishes. Let's say I write out here, and let's say the program is closed. Alright, like this. Now, when you leave it like this and run it, what will happen? It will come here, it will come here. This will run first. It will print Muhammet Hoka. Then it will see there's nothing else here. Then it'll say, oh, there's code here. It'll run this and finish. But I don't want that here. I want Muhammet Hoka's name to be printed on the screen multiple times. That's when loops will do the job for us. Oh, now the code is flowing down from here, right? As it flows, we'll say, hey, where are you going? Go back. We'll send it back here. It'll come again, and I'll say go back. Then it'll come, and again go back. Again and again. But teacher, doesn't it stop? Will it loop forever? No, we'll set a rule. Loop 5 times. Then it'll print Muhammet Hoka 5 times. It's the idea of a loop. To change the flow direction of the code to where you're sending it back to the beginning. So, while you're doing something here, you're sending it back to the start. That way, a loop is formed here. When the rule ends, it exits and continues on its way. That's the logic. That's it. Alright then, let's start by writing loops. Our first loop is the for loop. Friends, for loop. The for loop has a syntax. Let's call this the writing rule or grammar. Just like everything has a rule in English, there's also a rule for loops here. Now, the for method takes some things inside it and it has a body, like this. Here, you define the rules, and here, you write the code you want to repeat inside this part. So, this part is from here to here. This is the body of the for loop. Guys, its body. You write the code here. And this part here is the rules. Guys, what kind of rule? Teacher, according to what will we set a rule? So, according to what will we set a rule? Like this. First, in the first part, you define a variable. Like this. Integer I equals 0. Then you set the semicolon rule. You say that if I is smaller than 5. Then you determine the amount by which I changes. I++. Plus I hope you remember. What was it? To increase the value of a number by 1. Now, after I write these rules and run it, look, Muhammet Hoka said it printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and then the program closed. So what's the logic here? The logic here is this. As the code runs, the variable is defined. Then it comes here. It checks if I is less than 5, examines the rule. What is the value of I? None. Is 0 less than 5? Yes. Then let this place work. Once this is working, the code comes here, my friend. Increases the value of I by 1. What is I? It became 1. So is 1 less than 5? Yes. Then the code runs again. Tom. So, as long as the specific condition or rule located in the middle section here, this particular rule that dictates the continuation of the iterative process or loop remains evaluated as true, the entire loop will persistently continue its execution, repeating its defined set of operations without interruption. Is what happens. I was 1. It ran once, came back. We made it 2. 2 is less than 5. It came back again. I became 3, then 4. We're starting from 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I became 5. Is 5 less than 5? It isn't. So, since the rule isn't satisfied, it continues from here without entering. Let me show you this in debug mode as well. Guys, I'm setting a debug here. I'm putting a breakpoint here. I'm going to run this code in debug mode like this. Guys. And I'll make the code wait right here. And I'll show you how things work. Look, the value of I is 0. Since 0 is less than 5, this part ran. Now, let's go step by step. Now, what did I become here? 1. 1 is less than 5. Let's continue. Now it's 2, so it's increasing, right? 2 is less. We're continuing. 3, 4. Now look, boom, it exited. Why? Because now I is 5, and since 5 is not less than 5, the application exited. So, in the console, as you can see, the codes were written and the application ended. So, what is it that we need to do for a loop? Set a rule. And as long as this rule is true, allow it to keep looping. So, teacher, what are these? I mean, you've written a loop, but what are we going to do with it? You can do a lot with this. Guys, there are different types of loops. There are various kinds of loops. We will be performing different operations for each one. But first, this is how the for loop works. Let's understand the logic behind it. After that, we have 2 more loops. The while and do-while loops. Let's talk about those as well. Then we'll do an example.